Hey guys, I was in the hobby store the other day and I saw one of these that came out. This is a Hoonigan setup, both of them. Now I've got the Hoonitruck on the bottom and the Hoonicorn on the top, both made famous by Ken Block. Now, he was an inspiration to me. I really enjoyed watching what he could do with a vehicle. It was amazing, and it was sad when we lost him to that snowmobile accident. At the same time, he was a really good person, at least from what I could see. From all the videos I watched, he was a great person to want to know, and that strikes me just about right there. I like people that look for the higher things in life. They look for the more positive point of view and try to be helpful and at the same time do good things. And my understanding was Ken was that way. When I saw these were coming out, I couldn't help it. I ordered both of them. I wanted them in on the shelf, but they're not going on the shelves until they're tested. In this video, we're going to go after the Hoonicorn. It's a smaller vehicle than its brother, but at the same time, it's got all the detail and stuff that the real Hoonicorn had. Still, at the same time, these are both brushed, not brushless, so I'm not looking for high speeds here. I just want to see how they handle and all that good stuff. These are made by Associated, so it'll be interesting to see how they handled the task. Check this out. All right, so before we dig this thing open, take a look at the box. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's see what comes in the box. All right. There we go. Will it be right side up? Oh, it's cute. Look at that. It's a cute little guy. Okay, that's it for the box. All right, so have a look at that. And to give you some scale here, look how small it is. It's kind of small, but that's okay. That's to be expected. I believe this one's 14th scale. We just got this, so I don't really know anything about it till we get inside of it. So let's get you a nice flyover and let you see what it is. Okay, so now it's out of the box and we need to go ahead and have a look at what came in the box with it. And this is a really simple amount of stuff here. Before we get into the car itself, and I haven't looked, it is what it is, but what we have here is we've got some real rudimentary parts here. It looks like a skid plate, maybe some body mount posts, a gear. That's it for that one. You have a loop connector for binding your radio. You do get the XP120, and these work. I'm not a real fan of these radios, but they do work, so if it functions, run it. That's the way I look at it. If your range is bad, I'd change this out right away. We have had one of these go bad, and it didn't take long for it to do so. But we also have another one of these that's holding up fine, so maybe we just got a bad one. Anyway, I'm not a great fan of this. And then, of course, you get your basic manual and all the good stuff in there as far as the information, and you do have some servo horns that go with it. That's all. There's no tools, there's no charger, there's no batteries, there's nothing in this kit. Now, let's have a look inside the car and see what's inside here. So we'll get the cover off right now, and then we'll get down on the bench and show you a little closer what's going on. Okay, so what we have here is I've got a lithium-ion battery. It doesn't call for one of these. This is 7.4 volts, and I just used it to test it and make sure everything works, and it does. The cool thing about this little car is, on first inspection, when you have a look at these, most of these smaller cars have a combo unit here, but there's actually a receiver right down here in the bottom, which is nice, which means if you have problems with your speed control or the radio, you can swap individual components. Really nice. The speed control, this is a 1625 right there, and this says it's capable of 2 or 3S, but when you read the manual on it, and we did get a look at the manual to make sure all that stuff was working, this says it's a 390, but the speed control calls for a 380, so it should have a little more grunt to it than anything else. The servo is pretty quick, it moves pretty nicely. Plug it in, I can show you how that works. There we go. Radio on. There we go. So it is pretty quick as far as how that works, and it spins up nice. So it does function pretty well as that stands. I'll be interested to see how fast it is. With the 390 in it, it may have a little more snort than it would with a 380. I did take a look, and it does have some really impressive arms on it. They're solid, so they should take a lot of abuse. It's got a nice foam bumper on the front. The four-wheel drive works good. The differentials, they're not exactly open. There's resistance in there, so it may drift. Well, I don't know until we get it out. But there you go, that's pretty cool. So if you get the battery that fits in it, this will take LiPo or nickel metal hydride. I have a lithium ion there right there. It is still 7.4 volts, so that'll work out okay. Just for the testing, we are gonna go get the right battery for it. So all in all, everything looks pretty good in there. The gearbox right now is geared for the slower speed, that extra gear that came in the packet here, and that's this guy right here. That's the speed gear. So I did a little research on it. This is the speed gear, so you can change it to make it go faster. And it does recommend that if you put lithium polymer batteries in it, you should be fairly advanced to run this. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. The thing is, the manual here, it does not tell you what the motor is. It doesn't tell you a lot of things. It's pretty vague when that comes to that. This is pretty good for the radio though. This does a pretty good job of getting everything up and running for that. And if you read through this one, this is on the speed control. It'll tell you the different ones that are available, and that's the one that's in it. So this is the one that if you flip it over down at the bottom, it's this area down here. And it shows you everything you need to know about 2S, or how many cells you can get for your nickel metal hydride batteries, and what you can expect out of it. So all of that is very helpful information. As far as the car itself goes, it really doesn't weigh much, even with a battery in it. So this thing should scoot around pretty good. It'll be interesting to see how it works. One thing I am impressed with is the detail in the body. They did a really good job of making this look just like the real Hoonicorn, and it is really cool looking. I like the way they did the paint. The homage to the real car is amazing. As far as the drivetrain goes, it does have the oil-filled shocks here, front and rear, and there's a difference. It's a lot tighter in the front than it is in the rear, and I think that has to do with how this is supposed to handle, and it does have the plastic drive shafts throughout. So for the scale, that's pretty good. Everything looks good. Everything feels pretty smooth as far as that goes. So that's what I've noticed with that. Okay, that being said, and all that behind us, there's one thing left to do. Let's get a battery in it and see what this is made of. Check this out. Okay guys, there you go. That's the running footage for the Hoonicorn 14th scale from Associated, and it, you know, surprisingly quick for such a little car. I was really shocked when I put the battery in it and got to start playing with it, and I tried to do a little drifting around the side-by-side in the garage, because this thing, it deserves that kind of treatment, and we did hit the tires quite a bit on that. So we didn't show a lot of that stuff, but at the same time, we try to do homage to what this car represents, which is the actual Hoonicorn, which was very cool in its own right. This on its own is pretty cool. The body really does set it off nicely, and it is surprisingly quick. Like I said, it handles pretty good. The garage floor is just smooth cement, and it's been painted, so that makes it kind of slippery. So this slides around really good in those situations. When you get it out on the pavement, it still skitters around pretty good, and I would look into the rear end here a little bit and change the oils in it just a little, because it's a little bouncy in the back. I think it needs a little bit more stiffness in that. We'll look into that in the future. But as this goes, it handles pretty good, and on the LiPo battery, it is pretty quick, so it can get out of pocket pretty fast, and this is the one we're using. And this here is a 2000 milliamp hour Electron battery, and this is a 50C. This was only about, wait a minute, I have the thingy right here. So at the hobby store, this was only $37.95, and we have the chargers for it. So it charges pretty quickly on the standard chargers. This is LiPo, so it does charge nicely in that. However, we also ran, just to see how it works, but we ran the lithium ion pack, and this is the one that came out of the Bezgar. And we came with 3 of these in that kit, so we threw one in it, and surprisingly, it rips with this in there too. Now, if you're gonna use the LiPo batteries, there's something you should be aware of. And what it is on the back of the speed control right here, there's a little blue jumper box, and it's just a little block right here. There's 3 prongs. Look in the manual, it'll tell you where to place it. If you're running nickel metal hydride, you have one setting, that's move the block to the other 2 pins. If you're gonna run LiPo, move it to the other 2 so that it's set up for LiPo, because what that will do is it'll put the cutoff in there so it won't destroy your batteries. Very important, guys, look into this. Depending on the batteries that you plan to run, make sure this is set correctly, very important. The tires themselves held up good. The differentials still feel nice. We didn't have any injuries to the car. We did bump, like I say, we bumped the side-by-side a little bit, but it's a rubber tire, and this has a big foam block in the front. There was absolutely no damage to the car. We did run it the way it's designed to be run, which is on asphalt and smooth surface. And without any direct impact, it's really hard to judge durability on this. We ran about 7 or 8 batteries through it, and we ran it good and hard. Outside, it's just about 100 degrees out, and it never got too warm to touch as far as that goes. You could feel the heat through the chassis for the motor. The battery never got hot, but the motor did get a little bit warm, but it was still touchable. Therefore, it wasn't hard on the motor. Keep in mind, this has the stock gearing in it, not the speed gear, so it should be able to tolerate all those situations. Alongside that, like I said, we broke nothing. Everything is still running the way it did when it first came out of the box, and surprisingly, the radio held up good, and the range for, you know, it's a small car, so you can only see it for so much distance anyway, and this handled perfectly well. All of the settings held good. There was no problem with bind. Everything worked as designed, so radio approved for this vehicle. It worked pretty well. Guys, you know, this is gonna lead us up to our 4 questions, and we need to get on with those right away. Is it fun? Is it durable? Is it worth the money? And where does it stack up? Let's get started. All right, so question number 1, is this thing fun? Well, you know, if you're new to the hobby, this comes in at right about, I found it at A-Main Hobbies for $199 for the 14th scale one, and they have them in stock. As of the posting of this video, they're still available. However, on the Hoonigan website, they are sold out, so the prices may vary, but this is right now, as we talk, available for $199, which lands it in the budget class. This is beginner class stuff, but this is pretty quick for beginners. So you gotta kind of take that into account. At the same time, the fun factor. For the size of the car, this thing is really quick. It runs around really good. It does like to skitter around. The back end of the car is a little bit loose, so it does like to swap ends a little bit, but it is manageable with the little throttle control. It's all good. So on the fun side of things, we're gonna give this one 7 out of 10 for fun, because here at the channel, we have some really high-end cars, and the fun rating all depends on your level of skill. If you're used to the faster cars, if you're used to the big stuff, this one might not have the zip and zowie that you're looking for. But if you're new to the hobby, this is fast enough to thrill you. So 7 out of 10 for fun. And question number 2, is this thing durable? Well, we didn't break anything. We did run at least 8 batteries through it, and we had a really good time doing it. The transfer case, everything inside the drivetrain held up good. We broke nothing. But at the same time, we ran it the way it was supposed to be run, on a flat, smooth surface. We didn't pile it into anything, so we can't really rate durability all that high. But at the same time, inside it tells me that this thing holds up pretty well. So in that case, we're gonna go ahead and give this 8 out of 10 for durability. I know people are gonna say, you didn't break anything, it's durable. But if you don't drive it properly and you pile it into stuff and slam it into rocks and run it off ramps and stuff, it won't hold up, guys. It's not designed for that. If you run it the way it's designed, it should get 9 out of 10 for durability, but we're gonna go with 8 because we didn't actually hit anything worth testing it. So 8 out of 10 for durability. And this one I always like. Question number 3, is it worth the money? Well, coming in right about $199, you don't get everything you need, guys. You don't. You got to buy the batteries. You have to put the batteries in the radio itself, and you just have to have the stuff to charge the batteries as well. If you don't have all that stuff, that stacks on top. However, budget class is $260 and below here at the channel, and the battery was $37. We had the charger, but you can get cheap chargers that'll do the job as well. I wouldn't recommend the cheap ones. Always pay for a good charger, take care of your batteries. At the same time, the car itself was $199, so it lands in the budget class. This thing right here handles good, and it drives nice, and it just really does what it's supposed to do. Is it a race car? No, it is not. Is it an actual dedicated drifter? It's not one of those either. But it's thrilling to play with, and it's thrilling to see run when it runs properly. Skittering around under the side-by-side was a blast. It was really difficult to do on that painted surface. It was really slick in there, and it really came around, and it was hard to control. At the same time, it didn't take us long to get all that video shot. We didn't run over and over and over and over till we got a good corner. What you see is what you get. We just didn't show you bumping into the tires because really that wasn't all that thrilling to see. And when you bump into a soft rubber tire with a foam block, you're not gonna break anything anyway. So is this thing worth the money for the value of this machine? I would say yes, it's definitely worth the money. $199 in today's prices is not too bad. And like I say, they're sold out on the Hoonicorn website, so you have to go online to try and find one. Luckily, I was able to get the hobby store to bring one in for me, and that made it all easy for us here. But getting in your hands on one since Ken Block has passed, they become harder and harder to get. This right here, I really wanted this on the shelf, so for me, it was definitely worth the money. And for value, I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10 for the budget class. And question number 4, where does this stack up in our collection? Well, in the budget class, there's not all that many in there right now, so it's gonna place pretty well. Overall, that's the list with everything in it. This runs all the way down into 40th place. But like I say, guys, we've got some pretty cool stuff here, and it's really hard to crack into those upper numbers, especially with a smaller car, because if you guys watch the channel, you know we're thrilled by dirt. This is pavement, but we had to have it anyway. But this is a paved car. If pavement is your thing, that's very cool. Whatever thrills you, that's what you want to go for. At the same time, we're more into the larger dirt cars here, and so it wound up all the way down in 40. But in the budget class, as far as budget RCs go, what you get and all that stuff for the money, this one runs 5th place in budget class RC here at the channel. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. You know, this channel has been from the beginning geared towards new people. We're trying to help everyone getting into the hobby understand the hobby that they're in. And the cool thing is when we get a car out of the box, we don't know much about it either because we haven't got it out of the box yet. So we get to learn right along with you on these things. Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect, but we do all we can to help. And that's what makes it exciting for us. So if you wouldn't mind, please spread this around and let your friends know that this channel exists so we can help them too. Hey guys, for AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep bashing, guys.